Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. For this, the gala finale at the India Today Mumbai Conclave, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome an actor who refuses to play safe and instead has boldly chosen to redefine versatility in Indian cinema. From Sameer, the carefree romantic dreamer who mirrored the youth of an entire generation in Dil Chahta Hai, to Karan Kapoor's impeccable comic timing in Hum Tum, where the playful boy next door makes us believe in love, in the whimsical dance of life, and in the promise of serendipity. The raw intensity of Langda Tyagi in Omkara showed us that beneath that polished surface, there's an actor who isn't afraid of getting his hands dirty, who wants to challenge himself and his audience. Our guest tonight has shown he's bound neither by genre nor by convention. At a time when OTT in India was in its infancy and big Bollywood stars were afraid of getting demoted by coming on the small screen, our special guest reinvented himself and showed the way to his peers when he played the role of Sartaj Singh in Sacred Games, the man who navigates his inner turmoil while trying to save an entire city from doom. Whether as the fearless warrior in Lal Kaptan or the charismatic politician in Tandav, he's proven time and again that his journey is one of constant evolution. He slips into diverse roles with ease and conviction, proving he's as much at home in the house of Pataudi as he is in the gritty by-lanes of Mumbai. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we aren't just in the presence of a Bollywood actor. We're in the company of an artist, a thinker, a modern-day Nawab who continues to push boundaries, reminding us to live, love, fight, and most importantly, feel. Ladies and gentlemen, at the India Today Conclave, join me in raising a very warm round of applause as I welcome Bollywood's modern-day Nawab. Can we hear it for Saif Ali Khan? Saif, I'm told that this is the first time that you've ever come to the India Today Conclave. What's kept you away from us for so long?
Well, I'm just trying to figure out why I have been invited here. I'm told it's to provide entertainment, so I shall try my best. I don't know why it's taken so long. I'm just very happy to be here now. Thank you, very kind. It's very nice to be here, finally.
We want you to look at your journey and tell us how you think you've changed as an actor in these 3+ decades. What is it that you know now, you do now, which you weren't aware of when you were just starting up?
Well, I did my first film in 1992, and a lot has changed. My approach, obviously, at that time, I was fresh out of boarding school in England. My father, I think, had spent so much money planning a different future for me. But nobody had really asked me what I wanted to do. And I think, I don't know whether it's about having my mother's blood in me as well, but I've always been very interested in films and loved movies. But it took me a while to find my feet. And I think what's changed is absolutely everything. There was a time when I just kind of buckled down and said, I really want to understand this job and this craft, and I want to become a better actor. And I feel it's the most wonderful profession in the world, and I'm still scratching at the surface of figuring out how to play parts and how to kind of create an impression on screen. And it's the most magical thing. And it's something that I hope I can continue doing for the rest of my life and continue growing. I had idols when I was younger, like a young Johnny Depp, a young Brad Pitt, actors like Al Pacino. But now I find actors like Gary Oldman, I said Al Pacino already, have become my heroes because I think it's a craft that you should keep evolving and getting better with. So I don't know. I don't know what changed. At one point, I just said I want to get better at this.
I've heard you say this once earlier, and I heard you say it as you came into the guest lounge tonight, that you could well have been living off your mom and your parents, right? Is that something that really
I don't know if I could have lived off them because I don't know how much money they would have given me. At least my father was very clear. He told me when I was very young, he said, "Oh, I'm giving you this much pocket money." I think it was about 2,000 rupees a week or something. He said, "Oh, when you're older, I mean, when you're 21 or 22, I'll give you 20." And I thought, that would be great. You know, I thought it'd be amazing. But I don't think expected that of me. And it was never really an option to kind of uh, live off them. Um, my father told me, don't expect any kind of financial inheritance and don't count on anything like that. The world has changed. What I'll give you is a good education and I'll pay for that. And the rest is you're on your own.
Ruchika.
Saif, of course, acting is in the genes. There must have been great memories of you going with your mom to the sets, probably. When did your calling come to be an actor?
Well, you know, for some reason, I was kind of, I think a lot of parents do this, and some actors have done it, at least, in those days, where they keep their children away from the profession. So actually, it wasn't at all. It was something that I developed an interest in, and when I was offered a film and the chance to come to Bombay, I was very excited by it. But my parents never sort of saw that as a viable kind of option. And when I visited my mother on sets, it's not something that I thought, oh, this is what I want to do, or I was captivated by the magic of a movie set or anything like that. I was amazed actually. I visited her on the sets of a film called Mausam that Gulzar Saab was making, and I couldn't believe they made such amazing rocks. And the set people, you know, how they had designed this amazing set. And I remember my mother and Shabana Azmiji were shooting a scene where they were crushing some grain in a big mortar and pestle. And uh, my mum threw it really hard and banged Shabanaji on the head. And I mean, that's my only real memory.
What did you
of
want to
being a
do if
child.
you weren't acting, growing up, and even now, if you imagine an alternate career, what does that look like for you?
Well, I could see myself being an art dealer. Um, or, yeah, something nice and, you know, very relaxed. I don't know how relaxed it is, but it looks very kind of posh and
Nawabi.
well, I don't know what Nawabi. It's kind of academic as well as artistic and well spoken and elegant. Um, I like the idea of an art dealer.
Saif, paparazzi and you have a special relationship. We've always seen them parked down the building, and of course, Taimur and Jay are one of the most papped kids. Uh, do you?
I have a video, Ruchika. We want to just play that out at the back.
Great.
Where you know, what, can you explain your relationship with the paparazzi? You seem to be getting into this argument where you're saying, okay, do you want to get into the bedroom? What do you want to do? So, how do you see this whole
But
paparazzi
you know,
culture and the way that it plays out?
the bedroom story, I mean, if you ask me, you ask me that again. But it's weird because when a camera's on you, you never know what's going on behind the camera. This was a time when we just come back from a party, we were quite late at night. Um, and there were about 25 cameras that had walked inside the gate, into the compound, into the lobby of the building. And so really the next step was the bedroom. So, I mean, so I did say, I said, why don't you guys come in? So there's no context to this picture. So ask me what you're asking me about the paparazzi.
No, so how do you compare paparazzi culture in India with the paparazzi culture abroad?
See, this is the thing. I think the word paparazzi is a little misleading because paparazzi in general. See, also then if you loop something about 10 times, it sounds really bad. But you're experts on that, right?
Ouch!
But the thing is, paparazzi, I mean, half the time movie stars themselves are calling these guys and saying, please take our picture. So it's a kind of symbiotic relationship. And it's fine, it's great. I personally, if I've come downstairs in my kurta pajama and I'm a mess and I'm just playing ball with one of the kids, don't really want to be photographed, so I might look a bit grumpy about that. But when I'm all dressed up, sometimes it suits me to have my picture taken by them, so it's fine. Um, they're not very intrusive. I think they understand. They're quite polite. If you tell them, listen, enough, can you please give me a break? They do that. I used to get a little, I mean, you know, when they chase a kid who's in a car, he gets a little frightened. But it goes part and parcel with what we do. And I don't think it's like America or like England, where they really do publish an embarrassing photo of you. And that's the whole point of paparazzi.
That's right.
Publishing an embarrassing picture. These guys don't do that. So we have I think India is very special, and we have our own special relationship with the paparazzi also. So it's fine.
Usually, the paparazzi get paid for the photos that they take. It's only in India where some stars often tend to pay the paparazzi for taking pictures and
I
then
mean, the
posting.
finances behind it are insane. I mean, sometimes you're inviting the paparazzi to come over. Some people are, I believe, paying. But most of us in my family, I think, have never paid a paparazzi member to take their picture. Um, they have a rate card. I don't know if you know, where there's different people they get paid a certain amount. And one of my children was very high up on that card. So that was funny, but at the same time a little disturbing, because
How much was
he
it?
was 2 years old. I don't know how much it was, but it was enough for them to put everything else aside and park outside his house and wait for a glimpse. So he didn't love that, but what can you do?
I'm curious about why you've chosen to stay off social media and Instagram, given the fact that a lot of the brand value that actors seem to derive comes from presence in social media, ability to push brands. Do you think you missed a trick there?
No, I mean, I remember discussing it when it came out, but I think you kind of have to be happy with a certain amount. Like, I sit with my management and I say, okay, this is how much I'm making in terms of money. Do I really need to kind of turn this around and do something more? How much do we push? How happy are you with I think social media sometimes, for me, I think it's a great thing, and my wife is the queen of Instagram at home. And I see her following many interesting things about travel and cooking and all kinds of things. But for
And
me personally,
yoga.
if I was to take pictures of a moment, it destroys the moment for me. And I really like kind of enjoying my life. And sometimes you're having dinner or you're doing something with the kids. And even if my wife says, okay, can we take a picture? The kids, me, all of us are like, no, because, you either shoot something or you experience it. Any photographer will tell you it's quite difficult to do both. So for me, I think it's a great thing. And who knows, I might join it. I don't have a kind of a stand against it at all. It's just for me personally, I think it's too time consuming. And then I find myself, sometimes I have surfed Instagram and I've spent half an hour reading the most inane things. And my wife says I'm not following the right things. And then I kind of delete the app because I feel I've wasted a lot of time compared to something I could be reading in a book or, doing something more concrete with my time. Then, I mean, it's never ending. It can really suck you in. And I don't like that because it's dangerous for someone like me. And also, I don't want to engage too much with negativity, which also can happen. So sometimes I find that this is just not for me. But having said that, I mean, I might well do it tomorrow. I don't know. It's not a stand, like I said. I don't know if that. Also, I quite like the idea of being the only person who's not on it. The more they tell me you're the only person that's not on it, I say, oh, that's quite
That's
cool.
me. Huh?
I don't know why. I don't know. I just don't think
No,
it's.
but I did an interview with Ranbir Kapoor once, and I asked him the same
Okay, so
question.
there are two people who aren't on it.
No, but my question was
Yeah.
whether it impacts the visibility, the impact that you can have, not just commercially, but if you pick a cause, you want to push something or something to do with your palace or whatever it is that you're trying to push, whether it's now just so prevalent that you're actually harming your own cause by keeping yourself away.
I mean, no, because there's so much media everywhere. All you need, I mean, you can find an outlet for it with, old school interviews and journalism the way it used to be. I mean, this is, in a way, working against what you do. I mean, you would be removing the middleman, you'd be removing the priest. It would be like the Reformation of media if people started doing it themselves. You can also go through someone, right? I think it's not taken away. In fact, a lot of people tell me that the brands are quite happy. Yeah, maybe we could have got a little bit more here and there to be just like everyone else, but I'd still rather be, myself and not do that. But yes, if there was a cause to be spoken about, I still think we have enough outlets with which to do that. There's no need to be on Instagram and share. I mean, how would I do it? Is it just showing off about my life? And then, how would that make people feel? And would it be fake? Or would I say, how do I present the best picture of myself? And then before I know it, I've kind of gone slightly mad doing this. And I don't know, because I would take it too seriously, I think.
So you only do that when you have the whole day clicking 300 pictures and selecting three. You can only do that, which you don't have because you read.
But I love taking pictures. In fact, a lot of people want to borrow my pictures for Instagram because I love taking pictures. I have lots of really cool pictures. I just feel a little bit kind of, what's the word, reticent about sharing them all the time.
So there is a connect to Instagram.
To get followers, is that the idea? To get lots
Right.
of followers and no dislikes and lots of likes. I don't want to be in that world. I think I would go a bit.
So followers, popularity, and today also a very strong alternate stream of revenue for
Absolutely.
most.
I mean, there's so many influencers and people make it's a full-on, genuine job
Right.
with a lot of money. And I mean, I was talking to my second youngest son, Temur, the other day, and I said, "Oh, there's no film in the camera," and he said, "What's film?" So I said, "Oh yeah, it's not charged." So he said, "Yeah." So it's a different world out there, and you got to move with it, and it's fine. It's okay. So I forgot.
Seth, of course, we know you. While you're not you're not on Instagram, so you're not wasting a lot of time. Like we'll say that. You read a lot. You listen to a lot of music.
Well, I
Uh,
think I know, I kind of have an idea how to structure my day. I like my work. I like the money I'm making. I like the balance between work and holidays and kind of how to relax. And I feel quite at peace. And I'm also okay with not looking over my shoulder at what someone else is doing and comparing to that. And I think a lot of Instagram also is about comparing and saying that's what this, and I get a bit stressed out doing that. I'm like, what's he doing? Why aren't I? And then forget it. Delete it,
do what you want to do.
read a book or learn some song on the guitar or plan a holiday or cook something. So I engage well with life. I have quite a busy life. And I just don't see this as part of it. But I live with someone who does, and it's fab.
And
And if
she's
I
doing
ever
it
need
well.
any posting, I'll give her a nudge and say, darling, will you please? And before I know it, it's gone to many millions of people. But it's not something I do very often.
So you were born in a very illustrious family and you've done well for yourself.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that your kids don't feel the pressure, especially the young ones, given that they're already in the glare of the paparazzi, of trying to carry the tradition forward and being big stars? That's something that weighs in you. That
Wait, they're two different things.
Yeah.
Carrying a kind of a family legacy in terms of being a good person or a successful person or someone who's served the country well in whatever way is different to being a movie star only. So there's no pressure on being an actor, even though I think it's a great job. I mean, all the two of the elder kids are already actors, want to be actors. Tim at one point said, I can't bear the fact or the thought of getting up in front of people and saying lines. I would be petrified, as I completely understand. But now he tells me he's looking forward to his school play. The youngest one is a born performer. If you ever see him, I know where that comes from. So there's no pressure. It's a great job. But for me, they could be school teachers. They could be, as long as you're happy, and I think that's what we have to teach them. And this pressure of having to be a certain kind of way is not the way we do it, and not what I want to teach to them. I mean, follow your, we support them to do what they want, right? And whatever it could be anything. There's so many lovely jobs. But the art is to be happy with that, to know how to, yeah.
So if you are looked upon and considered to be a very cool dad, Saif, are the kids coming to you for advice on roles and relationships, Sarah and Ibrahim, who should always also be debuting next year? Or are they the cool Gen Z kids who say, no, we know it all?
I spend a lot of time. I'm not shooting a movie right now, and I spend most of my time with one of my children at different times. And they do. I'm fortunate that they're interested in my opinion, and they ask me a lot about. Um, I mean, my elder son recently asked me something about girls, and I had to give it quite a thought before answering. He said, you know, so about
What was the question? What was your answer?
well. It was a very, it's kind of personal to him, but it was something about how seriously to take his relationship at a certain stage, or where he was. And I told him it's very important to take it very seriously at all times. So you know um, I'd be doing him a disservice if I spoke
Sure.
about it. Let me just say he discusses work, girlfriends, Sarah or girlfriend. Um, Sarah discusses work. They ask me stuff, of course, and we go out for lunch. I think the key for me is to spend time, even with the two kids that I live with, to spend time with them alone, like the one kid alone. So to go out alone with Ibrahim, go out alone with Sarah, and that concentrated time, not just as a group, even though everyone gets along. It's, I think that if you give it time, then they talk to you.
Your mom called you the brat of all brats. How is what you did growing up different from what you're telling your children?
Yeah, I was extremely naughty. And I don't know, she wanted to write a book called Oh Saif, would have been the title. I've done some very, very naughty things. I was on a flight once with a friend of my mom's, and she was watching one of the boys running around. And she was shaking her head, and I said, What? She said, if he's anything like you were, you're in a lot of trouble. He says, you don't know what all you've done. Really naughty. So I hope, yeah, karmically, I probably deserve it. Um, but I'm lucky. None of them are as naughty at their worst. So, what was the question? I forgot. I got
No, I'm
distracted
saying
by.
how is what you did growing up different from what you're telling your kids to do?
No, it's not that different. I keep telling them that I tell the boys that you're so much more sorted than I was. So it's fine. I mean, in that sense. So it's not fake. I do tell them that, and I think they are. Like, I think they're all more sorted.
So you've got a new film coming out, Devra. We have
Like, I took a while to find my feet. My mother, when she says this, must have been concerned because after boarding school and just before starting work, I was a bit lost about what I wanted to do. And it's a long story, and maybe there'll be an interview about it sometime. But let me tell you, being an actor and being in movies and finding something I love, which nobody expected me to find, really saved me. And I think if anyone learns anything from that comment is if you find something that you really love doing, it can really help you, obviously, in life. Because it put me on the straight and narrow, this job. But before that, I was quite out there.
naughty.
Naughty, wild, little destructive, all kinds of things.
Let's chat for a bit about your new film. You've said that you feel that for a lot of Bollywood stars, Telugu cinema is the place to be. It's the next big thing. Why do you feel this way, sir?
Ooh, that Telugu cinema is the next big thing. Because, I mean, we were watching films like Bahubali, we were watching, I'm going blank, the film
Aditya.
Kalki, and sorry, these, and they're big, visual, kind of amazing movies. And, so I've obviously worked in Bollywood primarily and tried different roles and things. But I got a call and someone said, will you come down? We loved what you did in Omkara. There's a kind of version of that. Can you come down and do a film in Hyderabad with us? So I said, okay, I heard the role. It was amazing, this director. The way they shoot is kind of phenomenal. Um, And it was exciting we're in the same country, but it's an entirely different kind of industry. And to have an entry into that,
How do you describe the differences between what you shoot in Hyderabad and in Mumbai?
well, the language is different, but the whole point is once the camera's on, or once you're acting, it's a universal language, so you understand each other. And the director also understands, and of course they speak English. Um, and I mean, it's a universal language, acting. So once you read the script and you get that, but the thing for me was speaking this different language. And he said, don't worry, I'll cue you and I'll make it easy for you. But I took to it quite quickly. And then he said, you won't have more than 3 or 4 lines. And then before I know it, he was sending me pages of dialogue. And I was so nervous, but it was thrilling. And I got offered a film in Chennai, in Tamil. And then I was offered a film in Hyderabad, in Telugu. And suddenly these kind of horizons open up. And what I meant, sorry, I'm rambling on, I should trim, by your question was that they're making amazing movies there. And their movies are very successful. And they shoot them and mount them and they treat their heroes amazingly. And basically, sorry, this is a very short answer. They're making fab films. So as an actor in Bombay, if I'm good with the language, and it's not just dubbed, and I'm not speaking English and they're dubbing it later, I mean, it's a huge plus and it's a new horizon to kind of get
What
into.
can Bollywood learn from Telugu cinema in your view?
I mean, in a nutshell, I think being really rooted with the audience they're making the film for. They're very clear and they understand very strongly, and I'm sure most of us do as well. But sometimes, in a lot of the films I've done, we've had our eye on the West, and we've had a kind of cosmopolitan approach to things, whereas in the South that I've seen, they're very grounded in our own culture, like Bahubali, for example, is so mythological and kind of historical in our own culture. And even Kalki, this whole presentation of the Mahabharata in the last few scenes of Kalki make your hair stand on end. So that's one thing. And of course, treating their heroes like kind of gods, which is what commercial cinema, in a sense, should be.
You saw what Karan Johar said recently, right? The stars are charging 40 crore rupees.
Yeah.
They can't even guarantee 3.5 crore
No,
rupees.
he wants to cut paychecks. I'm not sure whether I should have my own union on that. I don't know what I should say. I'm sure he's right, but it makes me a little nervous when we hear talk about cutting paychecks. No cutting paychecks.
No, his argument is they can't guarantee an opening of 3.5 crore rupees.
Yeah.
They expect 40 crore rupees, whereas the budget of the whole film is 40 crore.
Well, look, the economics of our industry, that's the thing. That's what happens. You go to a star, and sometimes he says, listen, if you want me, this is how much it's going to cost. And people pay it. And if people pay it, then sometimes the economics does get skewed. But, I mean, Indians are businessmen. So this film industry is primarily a business kind of financial center in its own way. So people take shots, people take punts, and there's all kinds of things happening. But Karan Johar will know best. Sorry, I'm just joking. But I think what he's talking about is people charging astronomical money and then not delivering, which can't last. We don't charge that much. We're kind of recession proof. Yeah, we are, really.
Now,
We never charged that much to start with.
everyone sitting here would agree that Saif Ali Khan is arguably the most spiffily dressed person in Bollywood and also the envy of most men. I mean, that's just...
I'm not on the stage. I'm not the spiffiest dressed person on
No,
the
no,
stage.
that's not true at all. But you've got a new line coming, right? This is called the House of Patauti. So talk a bit about it, because it's exciting, because we can all then get to dress a bit like Saif Ali Khan and be little Nawabs.
Well, yes, or big Nawabs. But no, listen. Yeah, so it was an idea of kind of having a kurta line, because I love wearing kurtas. And my management and Afsar, my manager from Exceed Entertainment, said, Why don't we market this? Because sometimes we sit around thinking of ways to make money. And one of the ideas was that we'll start a line of kurtas and ethnic wear and make it kind of affordable. Because in the country I grew up in, there were a lot of things that were beyond the reach of the common man financially, you know. And there's a lot of shops and stores now where these things have become accessible. So that was the idea, really, to kind of bring a little bit of kind of culture and heritage and a old way of dressing into this modern kurta for people today and make it accessible. The idea also was in the climate that we live in, at least in Bombay, it's become a very informal city. I mean, people go out to lunch and dinner, and I think it's difficult to know what to wear. And I think going back to our roots with nice kind of linen kurta pajamas, you look very smart. You're also well dressed. I mean, people sometimes come over for dinner in shorts and a t-shirt, and I don't mind that, but it doesn't look great. So that was the idea.
And what about your trademark Jodhpurs?
Well, they're not my trademark. This is the thing, really. It was actually Gudda Rohit Bal who was wearing Raghu Rathor's, and then it was Karishma Kapoor's ex-husband Sanjay Kapoor who wore them, and I liked them.
Because he
And
plays
maybe I
polo
made
in them.
so I was like the number 5 guy. But that's how it works. Suddenly, everyone kind of caught on to it because um, I did it, and Raghu is
The master
a
of them.
great friend and a I mean, he understands heritage and fashion amazingly, and he's in fact done that, brought it to people to wear. It's almost become a uniform, and why not for a young Indian man to look like a prince? Come on, why not?
I say more power to that. Now, speaking of heritage, you took the Pataudi Palace and made a lot of effort to restore it.
Yes.
Talk a bit about. Now, no one can go. Earlier, it was a hotel. Anybody could just check in. Now, you need to be Seth's friend to get in.
Sorry, what?
Earlier, it was a hotel. You could book a room and go. Now, you need to be Seth's
Yes,
friend to
yes.
get in.
So these things, I mean, heritage-wise, a house belongs to different people over time. It belonged to my father. He was born a Nawab. He was a Nawab. He lived life on his terms, and he was the most amazing man, ever. Um, but he said, right, times have changed, and I will rent this house out and make it a hotel. But for me, I remember my grandmother telling me never do that. And she also, it's got a lot of history and something that I take a great deal of pride in. And Amar and Francis from Neemrana, when my father passed away, Francis very kindly said, if you ever want it back, just tell us. And I said, I do want it back. And they said, okay, well, we'll arrange the finances. There was a certain commitment that we had made, which I sorted out with them. And they were very kind about it. Because, I mean, my grandparents are buried there, my father is buried there, and it's our family home. So I would like to restore it. There's a lot of these old houses, we call them the Darbar Hall. It's a big room, but I find that an outdated name. I want to call it the Long Room, and because it's where the heart of cricket is at Lord's. And this house was built by, the seventh Nawab Patodi, who played cricket for India and England, and my father. So I wanted to make it like put up their cricket blazers and bats and really restore this house with their spirit. And that's been my dream, and it's kind of almost done. So it's been. So maybe I didn't play cricket for India like them, which is a lot to ask anyway. 3 generations of cricketers.
How good was your cricket?
It was not bad. I played for school. I played for my first 11, and I enjoy cricket a lot. But it wasn't lightning in a bottle. It wasn't, oh my God, like it wasn't like my
I
father's.
saw some images of you playing cricket with your son.
Yeah.
Yeah, there he is.
Yes.
To be sure, he's holding the ball well. He's got the seam up tight.
I mean, he loves sports. I mean, both of them. Even Ibrahim has played great cricket and got a couple of hundreds for his school. But in our country, I think playing cricket is like what, being a football player in Colombia or in, Argentina or something. I mean, the talent level is pretty high. I remember taking one of the boys to a cricket coach because it was my ex-wife who said, something very special. Let's show him to a professional. So we took Ibrahim to a cricket coach when he was young. He's a very good cricketer. And he said, sir, everyone is a very good cricketer in India. Maybe he should think of being a bowler because he's very tall. He said, but as far as being a batsman, you see those 100 kids there. So that's,
Even when you're holidaying in London, taking your kids out to the park, playing football with them, playing
yeah.
cricket with them, that's something that you clearly prioritize quite a lot.
Oh, 100%. Music, playing a musical instrument, playing a sport, reading a book, um, very important, I think, you know. So we try and, some of them take to it better than others, but you try. You say, okay. Um, but yeah, we love playing cricket in the compound, like I'm sure a lot of cricketers have grown up doing, playing football, all these things.
I hear that partying till late at night is not your thing, right? You'd much rather cuddle up with a book. So do you think sometimes that you're too posh for Bollywood? That you fit in?
No,
well?
no, not at all. Not please. It's given me everything I could possibly want. I've traveled the world. I've had such a good time. And honestly, when I'm with some of us in my profession, I feel I belong. But part of being an actor is also knowing how to disconnect and when to disconnect. And it doesn't define everything about you. I mean, it doesn't mean you're um, only that. Sorry, what did you say before that? What were you talking about?
Are you too posh for Bollywood?
No, no.
You read much more than most others would.
Oh, no, I forgot what I was saying. See, I keep forgetting.
That's why you need to come to the conclave more often. Yeah, then
My
you won't
mind-
forget. We just need to have you back again soon.
No, it'd be my pleasure. No, what we God, I want.
So I'll ask you another question. This is about playing the bad man image, right? I mean, somehow I feel from the outside that you're best when you're playing Langda Tyagi. Like, is that a feeling you get as well? That your best roles are put, and even in your new film, you're playing a negative character. Is that when you think you bring out your best?
I mean, it's definitely an aspect of what I can offer as an actor. And if the way I always wanted it to be is like the year coming up. You play a bad guy in a movie, hopefully a nice big film. You play the hero in something. You do a web show. So we're platform agnostic, role agnostic. All I really want to do is to kind of do a creative job that I really enjoy and then go on a holiday somewhere with my family and friends and drink good, great wine, eat lovely food, and work very hard. Not necessarily in that order.
How lovely. That sounds like a lovely life, and I hope everyone has the same. What's the one role that you'd really like to play which you haven't had a chance to play? Who, if you have the opportunity, reach out to someone just hypothetically and say, okay, hey,
I think the way yeah, I used to say no, not anymore. But I think something mythological, like one of our heroes from the Mahabharata or something, or muscular in a chariot with bows and arrows, or perhaps something like that.
You played the Ravana in Adipurush.
Sorry?
You've already played a role. You played the Ravana in Adipurush.
Yes, maybe a more traditional version.
no, but speaking of Adi Purush and speaking of, say, what emergency is going through, and why I want to just go beyond what we've discussed so far is because there's so much of a pushback, right? And you're a thinking actor, and I wonder what you think of, somebody randomly standing up and saying, I don't like these dialogues in Adi Purush, I don't like emergency in what you're doing. How unsettling is that for you as an actor? Because you're part of a project and you ultimately don't know how some random role
it's a
is gonna
little
react to it.
it's a little unsettling because there was a case and there was some kind of a decision taken by the court that said an actor is responsible for what he says on screen. So technically, if you say something, you could get a case against you saying you shouldn't have said that, which is a lot of pressure. So you try and tell the producer that, listen, if anyone gets in trouble, it's going to be you, right? But I don't know how covered you actually are. But having said that, I don't know how real a problem it is because I know a lot of people have, I mean, you're not free to say whatever you want or do whatever you want. And we all have to kind of slightly police ourselves and be a bit careful. Otherwise, there could be trouble. So it's unsettling, but you also understand that, look, there's certain areas, for example, religion. You just stay away from that. And there's many stories we can tell. We're not here to make trouble. So we're like, fine. So we'll just stay completely away from that.
Politics?
Show.
You've played
Yes.
you played a role of a politician.
I did.
Yeah?
And that
think
show
there's a lot
also
of-
ran into a fair amount of trouble and was almost cancelled and the producer of the show in Amazon was under a lot of pressure, of all kinds of pressure. So you learn that next time, probably not. If somebody asked me, would you like to do that same job again, knowing what I know now, I'd say no, it's asking for trouble. But I'm lucky I get a lot of offers, I can do something else. So these areas, you need to be a little careful.
Is there a solution to self-censorship? Because as a journalist, I don't think it's a good idea. I think people should push the boundary of
Lovely.
fair
And as a
speech.
journalist, I'm so proud of you for saying that, because you are a journalist and a political journalist who must make your dharam is to do that.
Raj Dharam.
You know, so you must do that. And I'm very proud of you that you do that. You do that all the time. And one of the reasons I'm here today talking to you is because I respect you for that. And I think it's great. But my job is not necessary to do that, because what we do is to unify people. And sometimes I find if I make a certain comment or do a certain thing, I end up dividing people. And that goes completely against what we had set out to do in the first place. I mean, our profession is one of the few things that bring this whole country together, irrespective of caste and creed, right? So I think you have to think before you get into that. I mean, I'm not a politician. I don't really want to be a politician. And if I had strong views, I think I would become one and then share them in that
You
way.
have strong political views?
No, not really. I mean, yes, sometimes. But would I like to make them public? No. I'll tell you why as well. There were the Bombay Gym Club, you know. Somebody said, can you, as a microcosm, can you come and canvass for a certain candidate? And I did that, and I made it obvious who I stand for, and they lost. And the person who won was like, okay.
Dekh lenge tum.
That was a very, very frightening feeling. I mean, you guys are really brave and much braver than me. I'm not looking for that kind of heat.
Ruchika.
So probably.
But if I was, then I would go all the way and become and join a political party. But I'm not ready to do that yet. If I
What
wanted
kind
to,
of politician do you like?
I like a brave politician. I like an
Do
honest
you see
politician.
any brave, when you see
Yes.
the firmament of political stars on the horizon, from Prime Minister Modi to Rahul Gandhi, Kejriwal, all those characters in Mumbai, who do you think of as a brave politician who can take India into the future?
I think they're all brave politicians. I think what Rahul Gandhi has done has also been very impressive, because there's a point where people were disrespecting things he was saying and things he was doing, and I think he's turned that around by working very hard in a very interesting way. I think, and beyond that, I mean, I don't want to get into a thing of who I support and what my politics is, because I want to be apolitical in my outlook. And I think the country has spoken quite clearly. I'm happy about one thing, that democracy is alive and thriving in India.
And more power to that.
And more
What can
power
be
to-
better than having a democracy where voters speak their mind and speak very loudly?
Absolutely.
Saif Ali Khan, it has been an absolute pleasure to
Thank
have
you.
you with us at the India Today Conclave. And I hope dearly that we won't have to wait for as many years as we had to tonight to have you here for the first time.
Thank you.
That an encore happens much sooner than the debut.
Sorry?
That the encore happens much sooner than the debut.
Well, thank you. That's very kind. Let's see how it goes.
You've been
Let's see
fantastic.
what
Ladies
happens.
and gentlemen, can we have a very warm round of applause for the Nawab of Bollywood, Saif Ali Khan, who helps us conclude this in the most fantastic fashion possible. Thank you so much.